Well, it seemed like everything kind of fell into place. Like you say, I've been a Sinatra fan forever.
Picture this. You're 92 years old, and you've been carrying a secret for over 50 years. It's eating at you every single day. Then your best friend dies, and suddenly you can't stay quiet anymore. This is exactly what happened to Willie Nelson when Kris Kristofferson passed away in September 2024. After decades of silence, Willie finally opened up about something he'd been hiding his whole life. What he said will absolutely break your heart. Willie Nelson has always been known as the red-headed stranger, the outlaw who lived by his own rules. But there was one truth he kept locked away until it was almost too late. When Kris Kristofferson died, Willie couldn't hold it in anymore. In a quiet interview just weeks after losing his friend, Willie said something that shocked everyone who heard it. He admitted that Kris wasn't just his friend or his bandmate. Kris was the reason Willie survived his darkest years. And there's something even more heartbreaking. Willie waited until after Kris died to finally say it out loud. To understand why this confession means so much, we need to go back to where it all began. Willie Nelson was born on April 29, 1933, in a tiny town called Abbott, Texas. Only about 300 people lived there, and life was incredibly hard. This was during the Great Depression, when 1 out of every 4 people didn't have a job. But Willie's struggles went even deeper than the economic crisis affecting everyone else. When Willie was just 6 months old, his mother walked out. She left to look for work and never came back. Not once. Soon after that, his father left too. Willie and his sister were abandoned, left with nothing but their grandparents to take care of them. They moved in with their grandmother Nancy, who taught piano, and their grandfather Alfred, who worked as a blacksmith. The family had almost nothing. Winters were so cold that they had to glue newspapers to the walls just to keep out the freezing wind. By the time Willie was 7 years old, he was picking cotton in the blazing Texas heat after school just to help buy food for the family. That same year, he nearly died from pneumonia, a disease that was killing children everywhere because medicine wasn't very good back then. Willie was lucky to survive, but that sickness left something in him, a toughness that would carry him through the hardest parts of his life. When Willie was 6, something magical happened that changed everything. His grandfather gave him a guitar. It wasn't fancy, just a cheap one they could barely afford. But the moment Willie touched it, something clicked inside him. By age 7, he was already writing songs. His first was probably a simple gospel tune, nothing like the famous songs that would come much later. But even as a child, music gave him a way to survive the pain of being abandoned by his parents. By the time he was 10, Willie was already playing in local bars and making more money than most adults picking cotton. This little boy in dusty overalls had become a musical wonder, but his world at home was still filled with strict rules. His grandmother was deeply religious and went to a Methodist church that had been in Abbott since 1899. She didn't allow dancing because she thought it was a sin. Every Sunday, Willie sang in the choir, acting like the perfect church boy. But secretly, he drank beer and smoked cigarettes, terrified that he'd go to hell for it. Then came a heartbreak Willie never forgot. In 1939, when he was only 6 years old, his grandfather Alfred died from pneumonia. The man who had raised him, taught him guitar, and loved him like a father was suddenly gone. Willie said it was like losing the sun. After that, life got even harder. He had to milk cows every morning before school and work long hours just to keep going. That loss lit a fire inside him and made him more stubborn and independent. He started living by his own rules, and that's where his outlaw spirit was truly born. Fast forward to the 1960s, and Willie was struggling to make it in Nashville. The music industry that was controlled by a system that wanted every song to sound exactly the same. Willie's raw, honest style didn't fit their polished sound. He was broke, sleeping in his car, and one snowy night he was so low that he lay down in the snow and waited to die. A friend found him just in time and saved his life. During these dark years, Willie met another struggling songwriter who would change everything, Kris Kristofferson. Like Willie, Kris was an outsider in Nashville, trying to break through with songs that didn't sound like everyone else's. Kris had been a Rhodes Scholar and an Army captain before giving it all up for music. When Willie looked at Kris, He saw something rare, another person who wasn't afraid to be different. In 1971, Willie recorded one of Kris's songs called Me and Bobby McGee. That moment helped create what would become known as the outlaw country movement. These were artists who refused to follow Nashville's rules and instead made music that came straight from their hearts. Willie later said that Kris made him brave enough to be different, to stop trying to fit in and start being himself. The two men became incredibly close friends. In 1979, Willie released an entire album made up almost completely of Kris Kristofferson songs. It was Willie's way of showing the world how much he respected Kris's songwriting. They made a movie together in 1984 called Songwriter, where they played versions of themselves as two legends fighting against the music industry. On the movie set, they would improvise scenes together, sometimes while high, just feeding off each other's energy and creativity. Then in 1985, something incredible happened. Willie, Kris, Johnny Cash, and Waylon Jennings formed a supergroup called the Highwaymen. Their first album hit #1 and ruled country music for a decade. These four legends had found each other and created something magical together. But as the years went by, Willie had to watch his friends leave him one by one. Waylon Jennings died in 2002. Johnny Cash followed in 2003. Suddenly, Willie and Kris were the only two highwaymen left. They leaned on each other even more as they got older, sharing stages at events like Farm Aid, the concert series Willie started to help struggling farmers. Even when they disagreed about politics, Kris leaning liberal and Willie more libertarian, their friendship stayed rock solid because they respected each other deeply. But then in 2009, something terrible started happening to Kris. He began losing his memory so badly that he couldn't remember what he was doing from one moment to the next. Doctors thought it might be dementia or brain damage from his boxing days. For years, Kris disappeared from the spotlight, and Willie watched his friend fade away. It wasn't until 2016 that someone finally tested Kris for Lyme disease. That turned out to be the real cause of his memory problems. With the right treatment, Kris started getting better in just 3 weeks. Willie stayed by Kris's side through it all. He visited him in Hawaii and never gave up on their friendship, even when Kris couldn't remember his own songs. Willie knew that underneath the confusion and memory loss, his friend was still there, still the brilliant songwriter who had changed both their lives. When Kris Kristofferson died on September 28, 2024, it broke something deep inside Willie Nelson. Just weeks later, in a quiet interview with reporters, Willie finally said what he had been feeling for decades. He called Kris the greatest songwriter alive, even though Kris was already gone. Maybe Willie wished he had said it earlier, while his friend could still hear it. The words came out heavy with regret. Willie told the world that Kris had left behind so many incredible songs that people would keep singing them for years to come. But there was something in Willie's voice that suggested he was carrying a deeper pain, the weight of things left unsaid for too long. Willie's grief didn't end there. In that same interview, he let the world see just how broken he felt inside. He said simply, "I hated to lose him. That was a sad time." These might have been just a few words, but for fans who had watched Willie survive everything life could throw at him, those words hit incredibly hard. Willie was now the last surviving member of the Highwaymen, the last one standing from a group that had once ruled country music. But the most shocking revelation was still to come. In later interviews, Willie revealed something nobody expected to hear. He admitted that Kris Kristofferson's songs had literally saved his career during his worst moments. And here's the heartbreaking part. Willie had never told Kris this while he was alive. Willie talked about specific songs that had pulled him out of darkness. He mentioned Sunday Morning Coming Down, the song that won a Grammy after Johnny Cash recorded it in 1970. That song, Willie said, had been his lifeline more than once when he felt like giving up. He also talked about Me and Bobby McGee, For the Good Times, and Help Me Make It Through the Night. All of these songs had given Willie something to hold on to when he felt completely lost. Willie said that Kris's music had brought country music out of the dark ages. But for Willie, it wasn't just about the industry or artistic inspiration. It was about survival. These songs had literally kept him alive during his darkest moments, and he had carried that secret for over 50 years. The tragedy is that Willie waited until it was too late to tell Kris how much his friendship and music had meant to him. In 2024, after Kris passed away, Willie sang, "Help me make it tonight," to honor his friend's memory. The performance left the entire crowd in tears because everyone could hear the pain in Willie's voice. The regret of words never spoken, gratitude never expressed while it could still matter. This story teaches us something important about friendship and the things we sometimes keep locked inside our hearts. Willie Nelson, one of the toughest and most independent artists who ever lived, had been saved by the friendship and creative genius of Kris Kristofferson. But pride, or maybe just the way men of their generation were taught to handle emotions, kept Willie from saying it out loud until it was too late. Willie's confession reminds us that even our heroes carry secrets and regrets. Even someone who has lived as boldly and authentically as Willie Nelson can look back and wish he'd been braver with his words, more open with his feelings. At 92 years old, Willie is finally admitting the truth about how much Kris meant to him. But part of that truth is the sadness of waiting too long to say it. The friendship between Willie Nelson and Kris Kristofferson represents something beautiful about the power of creative partnership and mutual respect. Two outsiders found each other in the competitive world of Nashville and helped each other become legends. They created music together, supported each other through hard times, and formed a bond that lasted over 50 years. But Willie's recent confessions also show us the importance of telling the people we care about how much they mean to us while we still can. Don't wait until someone is gone to express your gratitude, your love, or your respect. Don't carry those beautiful secrets inside until it's too late to share them. Willie Nelson's story with Kris Kristofferson is ultimately about love. The love between friends, the love of music, and the love that can save us during our darkest moments. It's about two men who found each other and created something greater than either could have achieved alone. And it's about the bittersweet reality that sometimes we only find the courage to speak our deepest truths after the person who most needed to hear them is no longer with us. At 92, Willie Nelson is still performing, still creating, still sharing his gifts with the world. But now he's also sharing something else, the vulnerable truth about friendship, loss, and the words we wish we had said sooner. His honesty about Kris Kristofferson gives us permission to be more open with our own feelings, to speak our appreciation while the people we love can still hear it. If this story of friendship, music, and the courage to finally tell the truth move you as much as it moved us, please hit that like button to show your support. Share this video with anyone who loves music, values deep friendship, or believes in the power of finally speaking from the heart. And make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss the stories that matter most. Until next time, remember to tell the people in your life how much they mean to you. Don't wait until it's too late like Willie did. Sometimes the most important words are the hardest ones to say, but they're also the ones that matter most.